Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Fairy Tale 100 Years Quest, Chapter 121. When we last left our heroes, we learned a good deal of Magia Dragon's backstory. How it being the first wizard guild, it was founded as a defense response against an inquisition roaring through Giltena 100 years ago. And it allowed wizards to become sort of normalized, to become productive members of society, was sort of Eleftheria's vision of it. Until the dragons showed up on Giltena, all the ones who had survived Acnologia's genocide a few hundred years before started arriving on Giltena, or emerging in Giltena. They were like, the wizards started finding them, is my point. Which led to Eleftheria learning dragon slaying magic, and then the dragon gods showed up, and then creating the 100 Years Quest as we know it today. And so that was some good info to learn. And then we also got to hear from Selene about her goals for, the end of this age of dragons. That the fact that she's killed so many people is not about them being humans, it's about the fact they were trying to kill her. She has no beef with humanity, she just doesn't want to die. Which is a problem because she's dying. We learned that she cannot heal from wounds inflicted upon her by a dragon. And so, what Ignia did to her in the fight in the labyrinth will be fatal. So she wants to take out Ignia and Viernes before she dies. And also, she has something she wants to say to Irene, whose spirit is hanging out on the porch with her and Suzaku. So we'll see what's going on with that as we dive right on into chapter 121, The Pair's Wish. And our picture here is a complete bullshit fantasy of Irene holding a baby Erza. Given that is just, not how she acted to the baby Erza. She had her moment of warmth at the very end when she killed herself, but she wanted to kill baby Erza, as I recall. She feels her mother's warmth, even if it transcends time and space. Chapter 121, The Pair's Wish. Yeah, sure, little intro blurb. Sure. Yeah. Anyway, we open where we left off, but Suzaku can't see Irene. So to him, Selene is just sort of talking to the air. How odd. Is there someone there? And Irene sort of smiles at the both of them. And Selene tells him, it's someone like a spirit. I see. It's just like Wraith then. And yet, why can I see nothing? And Selene just lies to him. It's a naked woman. Care to see? And Suzaku, ever the gentleman, just runs away. How embarrassing. Then I shall take my leave. Do take your time. And, right, because she normally does, I have forgotten for a moment, she normally does appear naked to Wendy. But she is wearing her traditional garb, with Selene here. As she notes to Selene, oh dear, and here I tried wearing clothes today. Do I look naked? No. It was just a joke. And then she gets down to business. So who are you? You've been inside Wendy all this time. Would she know anything about Irene? They would have been alive at the same time. I think Selene might predate her by several centuries, honestly. But she would have been aware of dragon name, of the birth of dragon slaying. I feel like she'd be aware of that. And Irene did do all that. So, would Selene recognize her once she learns the name? Not bad. You caught on to me. My name is Irene Belsarion. And it doesn't seem like it, as Selene questions, Belsarion? A dragon's name? It's a surname I took from Belsarion the Sage Dragon. Sage Dragon? Come to think of it, Eleftheria also calls himself the Law Dragon. And Irene goes on, Belsarion appeared in an old book handed down among humans, didn't he? Of course, it's only natural when it comes to studying Dragon Slayer magic. After all, he was the dragon involved with the first Dragon Slayers. Which is stuff we all know. I'm wondering if there is a translation thing we're not getting, that Sage and Law are much closer in Japanese. Because what Irene is saying here about the studying Dragon Slayer magic bit feels like there's that Selene is drawing a connection between the Law and the Sage Dragon. and that Irene is implying that he got that name from studying Belsarian, which is interesting, but I don't think that quite lands in English. Anyway, Irene sort of teases him, though, but I have no idea about this law dragon business. That old man doesn't look very wise to me. And Selene just comments, you have a point there. And then she thinks for a bit, yes, I remember. 400 years ago, there was a country's queen who invented dragon slayer magic. There were rumors of a mother of dragon slayer magic. So you've been wandering for 400 years, have you? Well, it's a good deal more complicated than that. No, there are many different reasons for how this happened, but I'll spare you the details. I lost my body and enchanted my persona onto Wendy. So yeah, we don't need we're not gonna get the several chapters of backstory, even shortened. No, it's just, she's a ghost now, don't worry about it. And Selene questions, can you and Wendy coexist? I suppose. And we see Wendy sleeping. I still sort of think that, Irene still kind of wants Wendy's body. That was her initial goal, during her fight with Wendy and Erza. And I don't really think that ever fully left. And Selene sighs. Then there's no need for my unfinished business, is there? And Irene questions, what do you mean? All this time, Wendy had tremendous magic power accumulated within her. Far too much magic power for someone of her capacity. I thought she'd been possessed by some kind of yokai. So I thought I'd use a gate to remove it in the end. Oh, she was gonna, help Wendy. As a show of allyship, I guess. And Irene just notes, so you thought I was a yokai. If you two can coexist, then there was never an issue for me to intervene in. And Irene just presses, you were worried about Wendy? Then you are how I thought you were. I come from a country where humans and dragons lived side by side. So I understand how those dragons saw humans. And Selene just looks shocked at what she's implying as Irene goes on. A dragon like you will be needed in the future. I can't afford to let you die. And Selene just sort of pushes back. I do not fear death. I've lived long enough. You're wrong. I was talking about your future of living as a human. Your face was filled with hope. And Selene just sort of takes Irene's words in as she goes on. You have to live. With your power over gates and my enchant, both of our wishes will come true. Which fits our title, The Pair's Wish. I was right about to say, Irene was gonna give some, genuinely, hopeful messaging, a genuinely hopeful message to Selene, and compare it favorably to, the shit with Elsie at the end of the Lendard arc and Eden Zero, and how much I prefer, Fairy Tail's message of, you have to live even if it hurts, which, of course, as I said in those videos, was most exemplified by the end of the Tower of Heaven arc, but echoes of that theme always works for me. But no, she might still be up to something. I've still never fully trusted Ghost Irene. I still think she might be up to something. And Selene questions, your wish? And Irene shows something to her with her magic. This light. What? And Irene tells her, I'm enchanting myself with the curse of a dragon's wound. I'm sorry, Wendy. Bear with it for a moment. So it's not like a vision of the wish or something. She's connecting the wounds together, giving herself that fatal injury, which maybe with Wendy's healing magic, if it's self-used, I don't know. I don't know. I got nothing as to what Irene's plan is. But we see Wendy, groaning in pain in her sleep. And Selene questions, a wound enchantment? All right. Your life is connected to mine. Now listen to my wish. And Selene presses, wait, if you can do that, wouldn't it suffice to give the wound to some scoundrel lying around? And Irene pushes back, it's not that simple. I can only give the wound to myself. Or rather, to Wendy in this case. I'm temporarily separated from Wendy right now. During that time, I will take myself to another world through a gate. Wait, is she actually planning to die for Wendy? Okay, let's see what happens here before I fully, like, give my thoughts on a potential Irene sacrifice here, just to save Selene. Because I'm not quite sure, I never bought the sudden, like, good turn that Irene takes, in the end of her fight with Erza. And, like, I don't know, I still don't, like, I don't know if I buy that she would do this. I don't know, we'll see. And Selene protests, if you do that, you'll die. And Irene just, like, smiles at her. As Selene figures out, that is your wish? I'm already dead. But, because of this magic power, not even death will be the end of me. In that sense, I'll be just like a yokai. And Irene changes the topic just before. You were talking about your child, right? Referring to her conversation with Suzaku last chapter. I also had a daughter. And yet, I despised my daughter and even tried to kill her. I truly was a horrible monster. And we get a flashback to her suicide. At the end of my life, I was finally able to regain a sliver of motherly feelings for her. The one measly thing I could take pride in. And Selene is sort of taken aback at Irene's earnestness here. By remaining in this world with this form, against my own expectations, I continued to see my daughter. And we see all the things that Erza has done throughout this arc. I don't instantly recognize a lot of these moments. Two of them are just like her talking. And then one of them, it might be the armor she used either in Alantir or maybe in her fight with Loxus. For some reason, it's giving me the fight with Loxus vibes. I'm not sure what the second image is. I can barely make out what's going on in it, just from how gray the whole image is. And Irene notes, I realized the magnitude of what I tried to steal, and how great my sins were. And Selene presses, shouldn't you continue to watch over her? I can't do that. I have no right to be a mother. Besides, if things go on like this, it will affect poor Wendy. It will poorly affect Wendy. That's why I want you to kill me. You're the only one who can. So I can sort of see, like, to say she got to witness Erza all this time, and that genuinely made her, like, as opposed to the sliver of motherly feeling she refers to with her suicide, like, she now feels those motherly feelings much stronger as a result of seeing Erza. It works. Like, I can buy it, but I sort of wish we got to see more of it. I think it works better than her sudden, complete change of course, when she killed herself. But, like, I don't know. It still feels a little weird and out of left field, and also, with the Elsie thing in Eden Zero being so recent, there's just something about, Erza and Erza family, like, Erza's family slash similar character design characters just killing themselves. It's like, I don't know what's going on with Mashima right now, but he keeps doing that. Anyway, I can't do that. I have no right to be, here we were. That's why I want you to kill me. You're the only one who can. And Selene takes that all in and tells her, I won't hesitate, That's why I'm asking you. And she just sighs, so you die to atone for your sins? And Irene protests, not quite. In order to prove myself as a mother, I can't pretend that I didn't die back then. Okay. I'm trying to piece out that's a weird phrase I'm trying to work out in my head. I can't pretend that I didn't die that I didn't die back then. So she can't continue on in this ghostly state, pretending that she's still alive. She's accepting what that tiny little the sliver of motherly feelings. She's accepting what that produced, being her death. Okay, again, Irene as a character is still kind of weird. I'm not quite sure the motherly vibe has ever really worked for her. But anyway, Selene just says, I see. Thank you, Selene. And Selene tells her, thank you, Irene. And she, opens the gate, sends Irene to another dimension, and Wendy, who's been choked up with pain for this whole scene, finally is at peace. And Irene gives one parting sentence to Wendy, as Wendy cries as she senses it. Thank you for everything, Wendy. Oh no, it's not just the one sentence, it's a full dream conversation. Even if it's another world, there's no meaning in a place with magic power. This is what, no, I think this is her conversation with Selene as to where she wants to go. And Selene questions, why is that? It's because my magic power is too great. While carrying this wound, I would also give to someone who did no wrong. I would likely die, but at the same time, I would be killing someone else. Do you know of a world where my enchantments can't be used? Oh, it's Edolas. Yes, I know just the place. And we see Irene now naked, her spirit now naked, just floating in a void. With this, it's finally over. I will disappear. Erza, and we have a quick image of Erza asleep. Live strong for me. And yep, we do cut to Edolas, where, Sugar Boy? Was that his name? Did I have that right? The Pompadour guy. I think that was his name. Yes, Sugar Boy is doing this, spin on the ground for shits and giggles. And Hughes just yells at him, could you, totally stay still for a sec? I can't help myself. And Hughes just, scratches his head. You're totally annoying. Hold on. Irene is going to a world where there is an Erza, and we're focusing on the castle where Nightwalker lives. And then the old man, whose name was, what was it? Trying to remember just what his name was. Is the guy who turns into, an octopus. I forget what his name is. I feel it starts with a B, Bryce or something. I feel like there's no way it's actually Bryce, but, fuck, I am blanking on his name. I don't know, maybe we'll get it. I can't find it in the wiki, quickly, so, both of you, quiet down. And they both sort of, freeze at the admonishment. And in walks Mystigon. The Hughes and Sugar Boy see him. Your Highness! And he nods. The old man, oh, you mean? And Hughes notes, totally. And Sugar Boy asks, a boy or a girl? Oh, they've had a child. It's a girl. Her name is... And Erza Nightwalker tells the gang, Irene. To be continued. Okay. I'm trying to think if I really think this whole thing works. Because it smacks of Elsie and James. Which was a move I really, really didn't like. I like the notion of Irene being sort of reincarnated as this other Erza's daughter, even if, I don't think I ever really brought this up before because it's never really come up, but the notion that, there aren't dragons in this world. Whatever dragons there are should be people in Edolas, as we learned with poor Leucica, though even that doesn't quite make sense. Because, Natsu and Wendy and Gajiel should have been born 400 years ago, is my point. And Irene, or Erza, should have been born 400 years ago, because her mother was born 400 years ago in Edolas. So, ignoring all that, ignoring the fact that I'm not quite sure how much any of the time stuff makes sense when you consider Edolas. The idea that she's, that spirit, lives on is sweet. Though, I don't think Nightwalker was pregnant when we saw her, a week ago. Right? Am I misremembering? Was she pregnant that whole time? Because I don't remember that part. Um, there's not a whole lot there, for her story in 100 Years Quest. But, like, because we know that time is consistent between the two dimensions, it's weird that she's already given birth. Unless this is, like, sometime in the future. It's not important. I'm gonna stop focusing on it. Who gives a damn? But yeah, like, tying back into Edolas is a nice way to sort of, tie in, circle back to the way that Selene's villain arc started, right? With the gang accidentally going to Edolas instead of Elentier. Like, that really works for me. It's just Irene, and it calls back to Elsie and Justice, which felt really, really kind of forced. Their like lover suicide. I don't know. It's just like, I like a lot of it. I like the notion that sliver of motherly feeling has grown through actually getting to see Erza. Not really spend time with her, and I do wish that, like, Wendy and Erza were part of Irene's death. That's the thing that really rankles me. I think that, like, Erza never even learned that her mom was a ghost for the past few weeks. That, like, Wendy was hanging out with her mom. She just never found that part out. And Wendy, who had all this whole, Irene was the sort of mentor to her, which, looking back, you can very much see the way that climaxes in her fight with Haku, and when she declares her a high enchanter. I feel like she should have had more of a farewell scene than what we got. There's also the fact that, like, it feels a bit of a death cheat. Like, even if Irene died, she was already dead, and so it really doesn't quite feel like anyone's... Like, it feels like Irene is dead, of course, but... How do I put it? Like, Irene dying is not as big a deal as Selene dying. Like, Irene's been dead for 150 chapters, and has been a ghost for about 80. I don't know. There are parts I like, and again, I think looking at the Wendy Haku fight as, like, Wendy, you are now a high enchanter line that Irene says to Wendy at the end of that fight can be read as a kind of graduation. It's a kind of farewell to their whole sort of mentor-student dynamic they've had for a lot of 100 Years Quest. I just really wish that Wendy was part of this. So as a concept, I'm not fully opposed to, Irene choosing to die, to, like, even whether or not it's for Erza's sake, I don't know. I would definitely buy her dying for Wendy. Like, she's had this mentor relationship with Wendy. I always suspected there was a bit more of a malevolence to it, but I was wrong. I can accept that I was just fucking wrong sometimes. But I don't know. I think a lot of it is the Elsie Justice stuff, just still sort of weighing on me. Like, that was a decision I was so dissatisfied with. And so that's sort of with a similar situation with Irene deciding to die, even if, like, unlike that one where Justice and Elsie decided to just fucking stop and die or whatever. Like, someone had to die, either Selene or Irene. Which also been sort of frustrating the whole chapter, the shared Ian endings the whole time. But that's a minor quibble. Like, one of those two had to die, and, like, it, I guess, makes more sense for it to be Irene, who has long since died. And there are some sweet moments, and, we see her spirit lives on, which also all of a sudden calls to mind Zareth and Mavis in the finale of the original series, and how that reincarnation didn't really have to be time-based either. They reincarnated well into the past, as we saw. And so I guess it's possible for Irene to have reincarnated into the future in Edolas. I don't know. I'm focusing back to the really unimportant point. Either way, it's a concept I have mixed feelings towards, and I don't think I'm really going to settle if I like it or not anytime soon. I think it worked for what it tried to be. I think what it really makes me think, going back to the Eden Zero stuff, is that Justice and Elsie needed a full chapter dedicated to their decision to die. And, like, they deserved a full chapter more than Irene deserved a full chapter. And so that it makes that bit a lot worse. Because I think that giving Irene a full chapter was the right choice. Like, we needed a full chapter to accept that she would do this sort of thing. And even then, it's like, I'm barely accepting it. I don't know. I think, in the end, I think it works. But, like, it's pushing. It's barely working. That's my thought. So yeah, in the end, it's a sweet moment, the sort of goodbye she has, what little goodbye she has to Wendy and Erza. Again, they should have been part of this whole conversation, because they are the ones who this really affects. But it is what it is. And I think, given my problems with it, it more or less works. And it keeps Selene in the story so that she can continue to impact events going forward. So with that said, I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you all enjoyed the chapter, the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, or, do whatever makes you happy, And as always, your life is your own, okay? Bye!